Welcome back. Welcome back. Don McKay in the morning on the all new radioonfire.com. Here on the program, I deliver the biggest political and trending news stories of the day with interviews and original reporting from Atlanta and Baltimore and beyond. This show is fun, is upbeat, but I also want to expose what's really happening in America. So, on the 64th day of his administration, President Biden held his first official news conference, press conference. Today, the president left the door open for pushing some fundamental changes to the Senate procedures. Some people think this is mumbo jumbo, but there was a lot here. My first takeaway from this press conference, this first press conference of Joe Biden's, is that for all of the years that he's been in public office, for all the years that he's been an elected official, you would think that he would be better at this than he is. At times you see, at least I saw, why he was elected. And I also saw why he had trouble getting elected in his previous attempts to become president. He is a nice person. I don't necessarily think he's a great communicator. And he seems to get razzled and frazzled with questions that he knew he was going to get. He knew he was going to get some of these questions. But we're going to talk about that. So he's 78 years old. And for the first time, the president said that his plan is to run for re-election. That is my expectation, and he expects that Vice President Harris will be his running mate. That was an interesting conversation. That was a revelation that was interesting. There was some push and pull with that question, but Biden at first backed a modification, but not the elimination of the often talked about filibuster. Now, usually when you think of the filibuster, you think of people just talking and just dragging things on and on and on. But in recent years, the filibuster has not actually been that. People have, enacted the filibuster, then they've left, gone home, left for the weekend, and then returned Monday, check on their filibuster, right? So some people think that they should go back to this filibuster. I do not. I think that the filibuster is outdated. I think it's time to eliminate the filibuster. It's time. Biden then suggested, at least on certain issues, that he would go further than just modifying the filibuster. The president said that if there's complete lockdown and chaos as a consequence of the filibuster, then we're going to have to go beyond what I'm talking about. Okay. The filibuster is very simple. Okay. When we talk about the gridlock in Washington, when we talk about nothing getting done, one of the reasons is the filibuster. So a lot of these politicians don't want the filibuster to go away because they like to have that shield, that excuse as to why nothing is getting done. If you take away that filibuster, a lot more things will get done. And surprisingly, many politicians don't want things to get done. They get elected and then reelected and then reelected years and years from their 30s on into their 80s because of gridlock. And wasn't able to get it last 4 years, 6 years. Maybe next time I'll try again. And they want the filibuster to stay there so they can continue to get nothing done. So a lot of politicians want that. Filibuster needs to go away. A pair of mass shootings, obviously rising international tensions, early signs of the divisions and the increased number of migrants crossing the southern border are all confronting the very early Joe Biden administration, which is also trying to navigate through this COVID-19 pandemic. So Biden says that he's going to deal with all of the problems. And he opened this news conference, this first news conference, by doubling his original goal on COVID-19 vaccines by pledging that the country will administer 200 million doses by the end of his first 100 days in office. So the administration met Biden's initial goal of 100 million doses earlier this month. So he is saying that they're going to continue on that path. And even before his 60th day in office, the president is trying to push to defeat the pandemic, obviously. This pandemic has killed more than 545,000 Americans, devastated our economy. And one of the big reasons that the president was elected was because the previous administration did not handle the pandemic well. And pandemic is difficult, obviously. And Biden administration trying to clean up some of that. Biden, this first news conference has come later than many administrations would have done. And I think that ultimately is because Biden is just uncomfortable speaking in unscripted settings. Biden says that he was hired to solve problems, not create division. That may be true. That may be true. And the scene of the news conference looked different from what we're used to seeing from a formal presidential news conference. The president still stood behind the podium against that backdrop of flags. But because of the pandemic, the White House limited attendance and only 30 socially distanced chairs for journalists were spread out in a very large room. So that was a little bit different. So the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, said that it was an opportunity for him to speak to the American people, obviously directly through the coverage, directly through all of you. So Biden is the first, chief executive in 40 years to reach this point in his term without holding a news conference. That just goes to show you how history making this actually was, and the pressure had been on Joe Biden to hold some type of a formal session. I think if it hadn't been pressure, he would have probably let a whole year go by and he would not have had a press conference. But this allowed reporters to have an extended back and forth with the president. That is something that he's not good at it. He's not good at these back and forths. And you can ask him one question, and when it comes to that follow-up question, he's usually in. It can go any way. The president himself, when asked Wednesday if you were ready for the press conference, he joked, "What press conference?" Yeah, behind the scenes though, his aides have taken the event seriously. And they tried to prep him. And as you know, they're what they call the "I gotcha" questions, and there were some of those. But all in all, he made it through. Plenty of challenges abound. Here's one thing that I really dislike about government. When tasked with questions about this, why that, they tend to blame previous administrations. Joe Biden blamed previous administration. The Trump administration blamed previous administrations, and it just continues like that. So no one wants to take responsibility. That I have a problem with. Once you get in office, the time for excuse making, the time for blaming other people, it has to end. At what point does it end? I mean, 3 years into the Trump administration, he was still blaming Obama for things. And when you talk about we inherited this, we inherited that, I just want whoever the administration is, for them to take responsibility for what they are doing. So his appearance, President Biden's appearance, comes just one day after he appointed Vice President Harris to lead the government's response to the situation at the U.S.-Mexican border. And This is something that has been passed around. Biden doesn't want to take responsibility for what happened at the border, or what's happening at the border. And the Trump administration didn't want to take responsibility for what's happening at the border. People are going to come to the border. That is a given. Now, how you handle the migration at the border, that is on you. People are going to come to the border. That's we have to understand that's what's going to happen. So there are various reasons why, and maybe we can slow it down, maybe we can't, but we need a clear and concise set of rules that happen at the border. That it has to be what it is. So Biden's overall response to the illegal immigration is softer than President Trump's, and that does bring more people here. But Biden has to. I mean, this is not new. They knew that the border crisis was there. The border crisis existed with Trump, and even with Trump's heavy-handed or inhumane response to some of the illegal immigration. That does not prevent the immigration from happening. It may be caused folks to take more extreme measures, maybe to not get caught. But we need to get a handle on this crisis at the border. And it's a crisis until it isn't, and it's still a crisis. So that is just what it is. It's still a crisis, and it's not going to stop being a crisis until it is properly handled, whatever administration that is. So we have mass shootings, a pair of mass shootings in 2 weeks that the nation has been rattled by. The White House has struggled to really, I mean, so they want to tighten gun laws, maybe. Usually these mass shooting incidents tend to ignite that kind of discussion. What is the best way to handle it, right? There does need to be some very clear and concise and serious steps that you have to take to get a weapon. There needs to be that, and that does not in any way affect or hinder folks from getting a gun. It just needs to be proper steps taken to get down this path. And we need that to happen. So every time that we have a mass shooting incident, it just reinforces that. Many politicians, because of the NRA and other lobbying efforts, don't want to really take a firm stance on this. And this is on both sides. Nothing wrong with having a gun, nothing wrong with owning a gun, nothing wrong with owning several guns. But we need proper steps to be taken to own these guns, right? So as it relates to Joe Biden, I mean, we're going to see other press conferences, obviously, from the president. He has delivered a series of well-received speeches, including his inaugural address, and has shown that he can effectively communicate beyond a news conference. I just think that it is these back and forths, follow-up questions that he does not necessarily do the best. President called the proposed voting restrictions un-American and sick. These are in reference to some Republicans really trying to hinder Americans from voting. And what's so strange about this is that some of the very voting instances that Republicans want to take away have been some of the same instances that have benefited the Republicans who got elected recently. Ironically, the increased ways to vote have helped Republicans too. I think that a lot of people are not talking about that fact that these voting restrictions are going to hinder Republicans from voting as well. Just tuning in, Diamond K in the morning on the all-new Radio on Fire. Of course, new episodes of the program drop Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., but I don't want you to miss any of our live broadcasts. In addition to our 8 a.m. program, we drop content throughout the day as news happens. So hit that notification bell so you get an alert whenever we go live. Diamond K in the morning is available on the WRF Radio app. Simply download WRF Radio in your app store. Leave me a comment. You can scroll your timeline, attend a Zoom meeting, send an email, do some online shopping, all while listening to Diamond K in the morning. And the WRF Radio app has some very interesting shows over there that you need to check out. Legendary DJ Cornbread, the Midday Mix DJ. Also, Morgan Brittany hosting the Top 10 at 10 countdown. A lot of things going on the WRF Radio app. So Joe Biden firmly pledging his belief in freedom of the press. Biden has rebuked his predecessors, just incendiary rhetoric towards the media. His predecessors' take that the media was the enemy of the people. Joe Biden has rejected that. He has restored the daily press briefings, which had nearly gone extinct under Trump. The daily press briefings were a disaster under the previous administration. But it is slowly getting things back to normal. President Biden sat for a national interview with ABC News last week. And he's trying. He's trying. But I'll be anxious to hear how you thought that the president did. Filibuster, I knew was going to come up. Biden said that the Senate filibuster is being abused and must be changed. It has been abused and it must be eliminated as far as I am concerned. So a pair of Democratic senators briefly threatened to hold up the confirmation of Biden appointees due to the lack of Asian American representation in the cabinet. And both North Korea and Russia have unleashed what we could call provocative actions to test the new commander-in-chief. A lot of things going on with regards to the world stage and the American stage. And we have to continue to see if President Biden is up for the task. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Of course, you can always donate to the show, donate to Diamond K in the morning, and you can do that via Cash App at $ DJ Diamond K, paypal.me/Radio on Fire, or djdiamondk@gmail.com. Visit radioonfire.com also to donate to the show and support independent journalism. And I will see you guys later on today.